Your body is valuable. You are a precious gem of a woman. You do not deserve to be pushed past what you feel comfortable. You do not deserve to be used for your body, and you don't need to use your body as an exchange of goods. Learn to respect yourself enough to walk away from a man who does not respect your physical boundaries. This was so... Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and I run the blog called Mrs. Midwest. If this is your first time visiting, I want to give you a very warm welcome, and to all my returning subscribers and viewers, members of the feminine family, thank you for coming back. Let's have some fun today. Let's distract ourselves and let's talk about 10 relationship red flags. I honestly think that now might be a really great time for a lot of us to study our relationships, maybe reflect on our relationship history, our current relationships, or the ones we want to have in the future, and really suss out and figure what's working, what's not, etc. And the reason we're talking about relationship red flags and not red flags in men is because I think that you can still be a good person and have a red flag in your relationship. Something that says, don't move forward, this isn't a compatible situation, etc. I have been in relationships like that in the past where there were red flags. I'm so thankful I didn't walk to the altar with those people, and instead I'm married to my husband. So a lot of this does come from personal experience, but also from my experience with my friends, my girlfriends, and all of your lovely emails that populate my inbox asking questions about your relationships. So I'm hoping to answer a lot of those questions today. I'm, as always, hoping to be your internet big sister. A lot of you have expressed that you feel that way about me, and I will gladly take on that role because I do not have any little sisters of my own. So with all that being said, let's dive into the first relationship red flag, which is when you don't respect him. Oftentimes we will settle, and we'll settle for men that maybe we don't respect. And examples of this would be someone that you don't admire, someone that you don't look up to, someone who you wouldn't take their advice, or you don't respect his leadership or instincts, or even for him to make his own decisions about his life. You feel like he's beneath you even, that is a red flag. It's important to respect the person you're dating, as a daily action, but also just as a general idea. Do you admire him? Would you want to be like him? Would you trust his advice? Or do you view him beneath you? Now this brings us to the second relationship red flag, which is where you feel like you can't stand up to him. Now this is kind of the flip side of number one, only that he might not respect you, and maybe you're even a little afraid of him. You feel like you can't be honest with him. You feel like you can't speak your mind. You feel like you can't tell him the truth. You're afraid that he'll erupt on you, or you genuinely feel like he doesn't care about your thoughts, your feelings, or your ideas. This is a relationship red flag, and I know a lot of women get involved in relationships like this because at first it feels kind of exciting to have this bad boy in your life, someone who's a little gruff with you, someone who, isn't falling at your feet like all the other men. But the truth is that it's a red flag because you want your man to be able to respect you. He wants to hear from you, that he cares about your ideas, that he cares about you thriving in life as much as you want him to thrive. A really good way to figure out if your man respects you is to kind of ask yourself, does he, look to you for advice? Does he look to you for your thoughts? Does he ask you about your day? Does he care about your problems? Does he try to help you fix your problems? Do you feel like you could challenge him about something he's doing? Or maybe are you enabling him? Are you enabling bad behavior, etc.? All of that is just very rickety foundation to start a long-term relationship on. And on my channel, we are talking more about long-term relationships headed towards marriage. And so we're going to want those really stable relationships. Also, those are the ones where you guys are going to thrive the most in. You're going to get the most joy out of those kind of relationships. And I want you guys to thrive. So that's why we're discussing those. All right, this brings us to the third relationship red flag. This is when you feel like you can't be yourself around him. You can't let your quirks out. You've been together a long time and you can't open up. You feel like you can't show him silly childhood photos of you, tell him embarrassing stories. You feel like you always have to wear makeup around him or be so funny or so happy or sweet 24/7. You feel like you can't be yourself. If you feel like you always have to keep things buttoned up and perfect for him, that's not sustainable for the long term, because again, a long long-term relationship is one where you can feel comfortable in your own shoes and you feel like you're in the same league as that person. And again, this intimacy can grow throughout a relationship. You're probably not going to feel comfortable being fully yourself right away. But if you've been together for a long time, or you feel like that you're just not growing more intimate in those kind of ways, that's a red flag. Because again, you want to feel like you can be your total self. You can share your hopes and desires and dreams. You can share your embarrassing moments. And he's going to be there for you if you ever did have health problems or found yourself in a vulnerable state. Life is so much more than just looking sexy and being in a relationship with a sexy man. It's about supporting one another and growing together. All right, the fourth relationship red flag. You feel like he's using you for your time, your attention, your body, your money, whatever. Maybe you're always paying for things. Maybe he only wants to hang out with you to hook up. Maybe he only wants you to listen to his problems and never hear about yours. But more than that, you feel exploited. Now the thing is, it's not bad, especially when you're dating, to cook dinner for your mans, to give him a gift, to really show your affection. But then there's times where, again, there's that imbalance. He never pays for dinner, only you do. He never gives you a back rub, only you do. And it's an imbalanced relationship. So, relationships should not be a tit for tat. It shouldn't be kind of you scratch my back, I scratch yours, but there is a level to them where it should be a mutual exchange of affection and resources and love. And you never want to be someone's placeholder. You don't want to just be scratching their back until the next girl comes along. You don't want to just be there to give him the attention that his mom never did. It's one thing, again, to walk alongside someone with their needs and to help them in their time of need. But then it's another thing where your entire relationship is just totally imbalanced and you feel exploited. All right, number 5, the fifth relationship red flag. And that's when he pushes you past your physical boundaries. And anytime a person pushes you past that, again, it shows that they don't respect you. What you're going to find with a lot of these red flags is that they often intermingle. So if he's pushing you past your physical boundaries, he probably doesn't respect you. He might also be using you. So what you're going to see is some overlap here. Sexuality is a really important part of romantic relationships, and it's a really easy way to see if a man respects you. If he's pushing you past, if he's trying to convince you to go farther than you want to, if he's pressuring you, if he's using language like, oh, well, I did this for you, or I bought that for you, so you need to do something for me, he doesn't respect you. Your body is valuable. You are a precious gem of a woman. You do not deserve to be pushed past what you feel comfortable. You do not deserve to be used for your body, and you don't need to use your body as an exchange of goods just because he paid for something for you, okay? Learn to respect yourself enough to walk away from a man who does not respect your physical boundaries. When I was dating my hubby, we had the same standard where we both wanted to wait for intimacy until marriage. But I do know a lot of Christian men say that, and then they still push their girlfriends past what they feel comfortable. My man's never did that. Praise the Lord. I knew he respected me. But if you're finding that, if he is saying one thing and doing another, look at his actions. Take that for his word instead and get yourself to a safe location. There are men out there who will respect you. I promise you. All right. This brings us to the sixth red flag, and that is when there is no sexuality to your relationship at all. You might be feeling more like friends than lovers. And the reason this is a red flag is because you do need that physical attraction in a romantic relationship. Now, I'm not advocating for, kissing before you're ready, getting physical before you're ready, not at all. But we all know when there's that physical tension, when you're holding yourself back versus the feeling of, oh, I don't have those physical desires at all. Now, that's a red flag a lot of Christian women might overlook because, you might think, oh, sexuality doesn't matter before I get married anyway, so I don't have to think about it at all. You do. You need to really understand and recognize whether or not you even feel physically attracted to the guy, or if you do feel more like friends. And it's really important to suss this out because intimacy is a wonderful, beautiful blessing in marriage. It's something that God made for marriage. You read Song of Songs. It's very clear in Scripture. And it's a way to become more emotionally intimate, physically intimate. It's a pleasure thing in marriage. It's a way to reproduce. It's an important part, and you don't want to walk into a marriage where that's going to be a difficult thing for you for the rest of your life, okay? So kind of suss out, do we feel more like friends? Is there any physical attraction here? You know, that might sound so crazy to the outside world, but I know that those kind of relationships can spring up. They can happen. I've seen it before. All right, number 7, arguably the most important point. I love putting 7 as an important one. And this is when you don't share values, morals, worldviews, or future goals. I've made entire videos about compatibility. I urge you to watch them. I think they're some of the most important content I've put out on the internet. But this is key. And again, these red flags aren't just about the man. It could be you. It could be you putting up these red flags. And again, this doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that red flag just means, hey, stop. Don't do this relationship, okay? I think we've kind of associated the word red flag with evil person. But that's not true. It could just be a bad relationship. And this is a really great example. So I've harped on and on. I really believe you need to be compatible, meaning have the same values, morals, beliefs, religion, politics even, and future goals. And the reason for this is because it's just going to take out friction from your relationship. Marriage is difficult. We will face things in life that are outside of our control. We might find ourselves in a financial crisis, a health crisis, or a world crisis, and really need to rely on each other. And when we're dealing with those external issues, it's not good to also sign up for a relationship with built-in internal issues. And that's what incompatibility is in the areas of values, beliefs, morals, worldview, and future goals. So for example, future goals, you want to be a homemaker, he wants you to work. That's a major incompatibility that's probably not going to go away. Sometimes people can shift slightly, but it's better to not even interact with the idea of a relationship with someone who would have to change for you or someone you would have to change for as well. Now there's positive change, like changing to be a less selfish person or changing to be a more fun person, but then there are negative changes, like changing your internal moral values for a person or changing your religion if you don't want to for a person. Those are negative changes, okay? So those big pillars of who we are, it's important for you to establish what those are. What are your politics? What are your future goals? How many kids do you want? Where do you want to live? What kind of socioeconomic lifestyle do you want to live? What do you believe? These are really weird questions, maybe, but what the Western world has forgotten is that marriage isn't just two lovers coming together and loving and being romantic for the rest of their lives. It's very practical. It's a joining together of families, and it's a knitting together of our lives. And our lives are about so much more than falling in love and having intimacy with one another. They are about, practical things, money, where do you want to live? How do you want to spend your time? What are your goals? What do you believe? That's the kind of stuff that you want to be on the same page about. And I do think that's why my marriage has been so easy, because we have that stuff in common. The stuff we argue about is laughable. We argued this past Christmas about how to set up the train underneath our Christmas tree, and it was a very serious argument. And that's the level of stuff we argue about because we agree about everything else. And I think that just makes marriage so much easier. All right, number 8. Again, I did say these would kind of overlap. This one is when your relationship is all one-sided. When one person is just fully in it, so interested in the person, so there for the relationship, and the other person could kind of take it or leave it. Again, this is a power imbalance, and that's not something you want to have in a long-term relationship. They might just like the comfort of a relationship, or they might like the feeling of having your interest. They might just, be passing the time or doing it because they feel like they need to be in a relationship. Whatever the reason is, it's not good enough to marry somebody. So I really encourage you to identify if your relationship is all one-sided. And again, this could be you or him, and that can happen. And I really encourage you, if you're just stringing along a guy because you don't want to be alone, think of him. Think of how that feels. Think of the idea of being in a relationship with someone who could take it or leave it with you. How horrible. All right, number 9. The 9th relationship red flag is when you can't have a serious, intimate conversation. This includes honesty. This includes sharing your feelings. This includes, even being able to express when someone has hurt you. I get a lot of questions about how to handle disagreements as a couple. And I feel like one of the markers of not being able to have a serious conversation is when you can't express when someone has hurt you, when you can't be honest about a conflict. This goes beyond just being able to open up about your deepest fears. You figure out, are you just having fun together? What is the substance of your relationship? I've seen some really silly TikToks or Instagram posts where it's talking about relationship goals, and it's about he gives you his hoodie, you love the same music, you go to Disney World together. And okay, teens, sure, have your fun, but please don't believe that that's what a real relationship is built on, because it's not. Again, relationships are so much more than just having fun together and liking the same music. Are you afraid of bringing up stuff with your mans? And why? Is he afraid of bringing up stuff with you? And why? Do you react badly to criticism? Do you react badly to negativity? What's going on there? Sometimes we can change and become more receptive people, but then other times that intimacy will just never be there. So that's a red flag. All right, my 10th and final red flag. Now this might be more specific to our community of traditional homemaking kind of women who want future goals of stability, family, but this is when there is no plan. There is no plan. There is no plan to get married. There's no plan for next week. There's no plan for when you're not going to be long distance anymore. There's just no plan. And I might resonate more with this just because I am such a planner of a person. You guys know I have even my YouTube schedule. But this is a serious red flag because it points to a few things. People who want to be together will do whatever they can to be together. Some people are more comfortable being apart than others, but the key is that has to be agreed upon. It has to be mutual, and it has to be the plan. So if the plan is to be long distance, you've mutually decided upon it, you mutually love it, you mutually trust each other, have at it. But for those of us who are in situations where we want something, we're headed somewhere, and that person is either not committing, they're not saying one way or the other what they feel, they seem to have no desire to go there with us, that's a red flag. Can you have a conversation about the future? Is that emotional intimacy there? Do you share compatible future goals? Again, a lot of these red flags overlap. So you might not share future goals, then you might not have a plan. If you're not able to have emotional, intimate conversations or bring up criticisms, then again, you might not have a plan. So again, a lot of these red flags point to just serious communication problems in relationships, maybe some incompatibilities, but it's important to have a mutual plan, to have an end date, to have an end goal, even a date next week. When are you going to see each other? What does your day look like together? What's the plan for, texting? Is he going to call you every day? When are you going to get married? And this doesn't, again, have to be set in stone with dates, but it's important to have a mutual agreement where you both feel comfortable. It's okay to have needs as a person. Again, if a person wants that too, it's going to be exciting because it'll be like, I still remember when I was kind of like, I want to get married. Does that sound like something you want? And he was totally like, sorry, I'm falling over. He was like, yes, and we booked the chapel, and he proposed later, but we had that same desire. And it's not cool to just not voice something because you're afraid of someone's reaction, because then how are you going to voice when they're leaving their socks everywhere and it's driving you crazy when you're married, okay? So these little things feed into larger things, and they all manifest in your ultimate marriage. So the more red flags you have before you get married, the tougher your relationship's going to be. Again, there's positive change where we can become better people, and then there's negative change where someone makes us shrink down. Maybe they make us change stuff about ourselves that we don't want to change. Maybe they make us feel like we can't bring stuff up, what have you. Those are all red flags. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in more of this kind of content, I have a relationships playlist on YouTube. I have a relationships series on my blog, and feel free to follow me on Instagram. But in total, I hope you have a wonderfully blessed and romantic week, my beautiful sisters.